Ave strategos, I am Pericles and welcome back to my channel. This is a Friday. As you already know, we are doing a temple guides on Fridays, and that's here we are. Before jumping to the temple guide, folks, I want to do a real quick announcement. If you'll go to my channel and if you'll go to the post, you will see there's a post that I started. We recently finished a long campaign with Greek cities, which we ended up with the world domination actually, and we were trying to choose the next faction that we want to play in a long campaign. Not world domination, just a long campaign, and I have basically commented all the faction names over there that we can play, and please spare your couple seconds and go there, vote for your choice basically. So that post already been open for the last few days. I'm planning to keep it open maybe a day or two more, and before the next week probably I will be resolving that election, let's say in that way, and I will be starting our new long campaign. So far I think Pontus is the faction has the most votes, but it might change. I think we have a couple more factions that already been voted as well, but I think the most votes are on the under the Pontus so far. So having a Pontus temple guide today is not basically hasn't been set up, to be honest. How we did end up, I already made a video step by step. We started with the Roman basically factions. We made 3 separate videos for each faction, and then we jumped to the Carthaginian and Numidian factions. I made 1 video about them because their temple guides were exactly the same, and right after that we have a temple guides made for Greek cities, Macedon, Thracians, Seleucids, and in the last couple of weeks we started with Parthians, the Eastern cultured factions. Parthians for the first one, and last week we made a video about Armenian temples, and here we are with Pontus, the last Eastern cultured settlement. So let's go ahead and start talking about the Pontus settlements and see what kind of basically bonuses, what kind of benefits this Pontus temples grants for us. Which temple is best to build in which situation, and which kind of traits and followers we might get from each temple. So as we already see, we have 3 temple choices in with Pontus faction, and there are Zeus, Aphrodite, and Hercules. So same with Armenians, they don't have the 5th tier. The highest tier available for the Pontus temples are the 4th tier. We've already seen 5th tier with the Parthians in the Eastern cultured factions, except the Parthians, the Romans had the Pantheons, Greeks had the Pantheons, Macedonians had the Pantheons, I believe Seleucids also had the Pantheons, but not every faction do have an access for it, but so Pontus is one of them. They have the highest tier as a 4th tier over here. So let's go ahead and talk about each temple separately. We're gonna be starting with Zeus temple line, Zeus temple branch basically. The first tier building, Shrine to Zeus. Let's start from here. So the Zeus temple, so when I do prepare for these videos, I go usually, I have already mentioned it a few times, I usually go to the game files, check the txt files and stuff, and I try to get as detailed as possible information for each related to each temple and try to share them with you. So the Shrine to Zeus, the Zeus temple line overall, in the game files it's being called as a temple of governors. It has some historical accuracy as well, because if you like the Greek mythology and stuff, the Zeus was the king of the gods, and he was the ruler at the Mount Olympus. If you will basically go ahead and read some ancient Greek mythology, so he was, let's put it in that way, he was the governor for all gods, and probably that's why in the game files the Zeus temple is called the Temple of Governors. And let's talk about what gets the Shrine to Zeus gets to us. 5% public order bonus due to happiness and 5% public order bonus due to low. So overall we are getting 10% public order bonus at the end from different sources, but the outcome is the same. Both of them is the public order bonus. 10% public order bonus. I think that's pretty good, pretty solid for the first tier temple. If you'll ask me why, because why you usually build in general temples for? You do build them for public order, maintaining your public order, increasing the happiness in your settlement, and as early as first tier religious building, having a 10% public order bonus is pretty solid. It takes only one turn to build, just 400 denarii, and all of your settlements will have an access for this building at the even at the beginning of the campaign. So it is very easy to get this, and very I can say fruitful building at the first tier. That's all about actually the building itself's bonus, but there's a trait that I will talk about that you can you will get after building this first tier building. So this is devotion. What is devotion are? We've already talked different devotions with different faction temple guides already. So each temple, each faction, each temple has its own devotion. And how this devotion system works? It is a trait only for merchants. That's the first thing I want to mention. And as I already said, each temple has its own devotion. For example, we have different devotion for Zeus, different for Aphrodite, and different for Hercules. And another faction has different devotions for each. Sometimes these devotions might be exact same with another faction's devotion, whatnot. But overall, it usually differs from temple to temple. And since we said, not the Hercules, since we said the Zeus temple is a temple of governance, that's how it goes in the game files, the devotion you're getting is devotion to governance. So how does this mechanic works? You have to have a shrine to Zeus, which is a first tier Zeus building, build in your settlements, or you can have like Zeus buildings in the above tier, but you have to have at least first tier building. That will work with second, third, or fourth tier building as well, but you have to have at least a first tier Zeus building, and then you have to have a merchant that ends the turn in that settlement. But you have to make sure that you've already built that temple first. Once the construction is done, then you can have your merchant sit in the settlement and end the turn. Next turn, with 100% of chance, your merchant will get this devotion to governance. There's only one case that he cannot get this trait if he already have another devotion. These devotions cannot be stacked, so if he already has the devotion to certain basically ideology, even it's the same ideology or any different temple's devotion, he cannot have it. So simple can have one devotion at once. So we say that if you have already merchant, it can stay in the settlement for just one turn, and you can end the turn. Next turn, with 100% of chance, he'll get this devotion, this trait. There's another thing. If you don't have any merchant, if you've already built your shrine, and if you can recruit a fresh merchant in that settlement, the newly recruited merchant will be recruited with this trade already. So you don't have to do anything special, just recruit. But if you do already have one merchant like serving somewhere, and if you want to get this trade, just bring it to the closest settlement that has a shrine to Zeus, and he'll have a devotion to governors. And what does this devotion to governance get for us? +1 finance when trading slaves and -1 when not trading slaves. We've seen this trait a couple times before in our temple guides, and I have said that that's one of the devotions that I do like, because sometimes you see that +1 finance for, let's say, timber or iron, -1 for grain or precious metals, whatever. Why I do think this is better? Because imagine this. Let's say what kind of resource we have. We have iron in our region, right? So if this guy had a devotion to something, I don't know, to whatever, devotion to something, and +1 finance when trading iron, then this merchant would get extra finance point when he's sitting on an iron. But the question is how often or how many iron nodes you have throughout the map. Not too many, but slaves can be made a lot. How? Once you are expanding, let's say here's your capital, and you slowly started to conquering, let's say, the western areas or somewhere in the south, you will the game will force you to enslave the settlements, because you're gonna have like let's say settlement. Let's say you conquered the Thessalonica, which usually has around like 8 to 12,000 population. Once you reach there and capture it, the Macedonian capital, you're gonna have two choices. Either you're gonna exterminate the settlement. Yes, you'll get some cash, but you will lose all the population that you just slaughtered there, or you will enslave it. So if it has 10,000 population, you will keep 5,000 population in the settlement, and you will enslave 5,000 population, and this 5,000 population will be basically splitted evenly among the rest of your settlements, so you don't lose that population. Actually, it kind of how can I say, growth your settlements, helps the population growth in your settlements. And also you will have kind of node that you're gonna see somewhere around the settlement, which is slaves. So it means you can have a lot of slave nodes once you start enslaving, which is gonna be actually good option for maintaining your public order, unless you like to keep huge amount of garrisons in the city, so then you just can occupy. But overall, I think this +1 finance when trading slaves are more useful than having certain basically for example finance for iron or whatever. So that's the trait I wanted to talk about. Now let's jump to the second tier, Temple of Zeus. So in second tier, both of our public order bonuses goes up to 10% from 5. So overall we're getting 20% public order bonus. Again, for the second tier building, it is still very solid. It is still very, how can I say, beneficial, because building the second tier temple is not difficult neither. I would say more than 80% of your settlements that you already own or you will conquer will have an access for this second tier building, and it doesn't take too many turns, only 2 turns to build, and little more expensive than the first tier. 800 denarii is not a lot, and the bonus you're getting is pretty decent. So I would say it is pretty solid second tier temple. Now let's talk about what kind of traits and followers it basically lets us to have. So now we will talk about basically the family member or general traits. So folks, whoever is watching already knows, but if you're new, we are using a console commands in this basically guides in this series. Why? Because I'm trying to clean up all the traits and followers that not related with the temples, and I do like to keep only the followers and traits that are related to the temples that we're talking about. So for that purposes, and also for being able to grow the settlement to the certain level that I feel like it's comfortable to explain with the buildings and stuff, so for those purposes we are using the console commands in here. Now let's talk about the traits and followers. So definitely faction leader is not something we'll be talking about. I believe that's clear why. We'll talk about strict governor here. So strict governor in the game files, it goes under authoritarian 1 trait and gives us +1 unrest and +2 low. So both of these actually basically, let's say, traits, unrest and low, they both related with the public order. How it is related? If you will go to settlement details, you will see that you have your public order section here and population growth here. So public order section, this is the top part, is the positive part. So that's how many public order overall you're getting positively. And here we go, we have a disorder which is negative public order. So how does it work? You calculate all of those, and then you kind of take off all the total sum of disorder, and then that makes you that makes it your public order, which is 185 here. So low increases the public order, unrest decreases the public order. So it says it's a strict governor, it gets +1 unrest and +2 low, so it works for you in your favor. Why? Because you're getting 2 times low. Basically you have 2 plus and 1 minus, so overall you're getting actually bonus. And you're getting, when you calculate and do the math, you will see that you're getting plus public order from here. So it might not look like a completely positive trade, but it is actually. So it is a positive trade. And how you can get this trade works exact same mechanic as a devotion. The same mechanic can be applied here. You have to have a Temple of Zeus or tiers above already built in your settlement, already finished the construction, and you have to have like faction leader, faction heir, regular family member, or any general that should be sitting and ending the turn in that settlement. And unfortunately, with only 10% of chance each time you end the turn, your family member will get this trade. So if he will stay long enough in the settlement, sooner or later he will get it. So 10% of chance, and exact same conditions that we talked about with devotion. But remember, devotion had 100% of chance. So the followers we will be talking about here, there are 2 of them. The first is Freeman Clerk, gets us +1 management and 10% bonus on tax income. And another one is a Priest of Zeus. I'll come to Priest. Let's talk about Freeman Clerk real quick. I think it's pretty useful follower, especially for the governor, especially for family member that stays in the settlement, like sits in the settlement and controls the settlement, not going to fight with another factions basically. And why is useful? Because of the management point. First of all, management, the higher management point, the more income your governor will get from the settlement, and plus 10% bonus tax income is another money related bonus. So which both of them is a pretty good basically governor, I would say, follower. And the good advantage about these followers, you cannot move these traits from family member to family member, but with clicking the move follower button, you can move this guy to anyone else in your family tree basically. And this guy also has this guy also has exact same conditions as we talked with devotion and over here with the strict governor, but he has slightly better chance. He has 15% of chance at the end of each turn for your family member to be able to get this follower. And now Priest. So how does this Priest work? Priest of Zeus. So every temple, like exact same way like devotions, they have their own unique priest or priestesses. So if you have built a shrine, or not shrine, I mean Temple of Zeus or buildings above, you're gonna get a Priest of Zeus with 15% of chance and exact same conditions we've already talked about before. And if you have, let's say, Temple of Aphrodite, which we will talk about, you're gonna get a priest or priestess of Aphrodite. And let's see what does the Priest of Zeus gets for us. +1 influence, +1 management, and +1 command when defending walls. I would say it's pretty huge follower. Why? Because influence is one of the most important traits in the game, one of the most important stats in the game. So +1 influence is very solid. +1 management supports it pretty decently as well. And +1 command, it's also good. I mean, not as useful as the other two, but it's still good. So overall it is pretty solid priest, I would say. And again, with 15% of chance at the end of each turn, your family member can get it if they're sitting on a settlement which the Temple of Zeus or third or fourth tier Zeus building already built. Now let's jump to the third tier. We have overall 30% of public order over here, which we see the steady growth, and I assume we're gonna have 40%. Yes, we do have a 40% at the awesome Temple of Zeus. And that's where unfortunately our temple line ends. We don't have the fifth tier. So overall, the Zeus temple is heavily and solely focused on public order, doesn't grant us anything else, because we've seen another temples that gets us a little bit public order and a little bit trade bonus, a little bit military bonus, this and that. But this is solely and like heavily focused on the public order, and I think it's pretty decent line to have. And overall, the stats and like the bonuses that we are getting so far, I haven't seen any follower or trait that I would like to avoid for getting that. So overall it's pretty decent, and I would love to have this followers traits or even the bonus from the Zeus building itself. Now let's go to the Mazaka, and I built the Aphrodite temple, Aphrodite line on Mazaka. So Shrine to Aphrodite. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention about the Zeus temple, that actually Macedon's has exact same temple, Temple of Governors, and their basically the temple line name is a Zeus as well. So Pontus shares the Zeus with Macedon's in this way, exact same name and exact same Temple of Governors. Which Aphrodite? We've seen the Aphrodite with Greek cities. Pontus shares Aphrodite with Greek cities, exactly the same. They have Aphrodite, Pontus have Aphrodite, and both of them is a Temple of Love. And let's see what does this Temple of Love gets for us. So 5% public order bonus due to happiness, and 0.5% population grow bonus. So as you see over here, we don't have 10% of public order bonus, we have only 5%, and we have 0.5% of population grow bonus, which is also useful, and which is I think also a pretty good option to have. Why? Because if you're building this in the early tiers, you need to grow your population so your settlement can expand and you can have access to higher tier military buildings, higher tier ships, higher tier cavalry or whatever, or higher tier walls, defense at all. So 0.5% population growth bonus is pretty decent as well. So since it's a Temple of Love, it's not very difficult to understand why the population growth. So it is, I think, nicely related to each other. So yeah, let's talk about it is devotion, the basically devotion for love. So devotion to love works the exact same way as we talked about another devotion. +2 finance when trading rarities, I don't know how it's pronounced, sorry for that, and -1 for iron. So I'm not gonna talk about I'm not gonna go into the details too much about how you should optimize it, where you should use it, because I mean, this is temple guide, not a basically merchant or finance guide or trade guide. Maybe I'll make that one day and I'll talk about mod fully over there, but it's not the topic for today. So I'll just mention you what it gets for you, and if you already know, that's great. You can have a look and apply it to your campaign. If not, you can just probably ignore it. By the way, in both merchants, I would like to guys ignore the first traits. So because when I do use a console command, I can't use the console command with merchants, so I can't remove these traits, so they are not related with our temple guide. So this is it. That's what you're getting with the first tier Aphrodite building. Now let's jump to the second tier. In the second tier we have 10% public order bonus and 1% population growth bonus. We see both stats doubled in the second tier. And let's talk about it is basically traits over here. So there are two things I will be talking about, the one over here and one over here. The trait we will be talking about is a casual adulterer, which in the game files goes under girls 1, and unfortunately it has only 5% of chance at the end of each turn for your family member to be able to get this trade. Why I do say unfortunately, because the bonus it gets for us, +2 morale for all troops on the battlefield, is huge. I mean, every time I see the plus morale buff, I always talk about it a lot. What it is basically, if you fighting the battles manually, and if you're not playing with the arcade mode on, plus morale is one of the key, probably the biggest factor in your battlefield. So the higher morale for your unit, the less chance of your units being routed basically. So it is very important to have and very great trait to have, but unfortunately with only 5% of chance you can get this trait. And about the follower, as we talked about, every temple has its own follower. We see the priestess of Aphrodite here, exact 15% of chance, which applies to all priestesses and priestesses, and exact same condition, at least have to the second tier temple or above. And let's see the bonus: +1 management, 10% discount on agent training costs, and +1 to public health. So management, again, great for extra income. Gets the higher the management point is for your family member, the better they manage the settlement and the more money you get. 10% discount on agent training costs. I don't find that very important, very crucial, very beneficial. It is still discount for you, but it is very niche, and you don't save up too much and you don't make a lot of money from this discount. And +1 to public health. This is also related over here with public order and population growth. Having a higher health means having a higher public order. Having a higher health means having a higher population growth. So which is +1 to public health is useful in that meaning. So it is overall it's decent follower, I would say, to have. Now let's talk about the higher tiers of Aphrodite building, which is third tier is 15% public order bonus and 1.5% population growth bonus. We see the steady increase on our stats over here. There's no traits or followers that requires the third tier, but there are some does for fourth tier. Let's take a look to building itself first. 20% public order bonus and 2% population growth bonus. Overall is not bad, like buildings themselves, they are not bad. If you ask me, I do find so far the Zeus temple buildings itself more beneficial as the bonuses they grant to us than Aphrodite, but Aphrodite is not bad as well. So this is more helping you grow your settlements. Another one is more keeping them like calmed down, keeping them happy, and keeping them basically in the leashes pretty much. And now we see a lot of all of these traits that which are related to the fourth tier. You can't have an access for these traits through the temples if you haven't built the fourth tier. You have to have at least the fourth tier, which is last tier for the Pontus. So now let's start talking about each one of them separately. The first one we'll talk about is aesthetic one. That's how it goes in the game files. And lover of beauty. That's the trait we're talking about. Gets us +1 influence, -1 command. So some of you might think that's actually not very good trait or bonus to have, but I would completely disagree with you, because influence is much valuable than command, especially if you're playing the battles manually. Because once you play the battle manually, the command bonus, or like negative bonus, let's say, doesn't matter to you. It only makes a difference when you auto-resolve your battles. But influence doesn't matter. You do auto-resolve or you do fight manually, it's always useful, and it's very huge basically stat to have. The better influence you have, like the more influence you have, the better a lot of things will be. So overall I think this trade is pretty good. I mean, if it would be +1 influence and -3 command, probably I would still be saying the same thing, because I think 1 influence points is more worth it than 3 or 4 command points, to be honest. and unfortunately you can only get this trade with 5% of chance at the end of each turn. So you're gonna have to try a little hard for being able to get this guy over here. And another trait we will be talking about is Epicurean 1. That's how it goes in the game files. And Gourmet of Life. 5% bonus on all trade income and 10% decrease to cost to bribe. So both of them is the financial money related. 5% bonus on trade income is not bad. I mean, if you think about this trade, I think it's bad because you can get this trade if you've built a 4th tier, and if you've built a 4th tier, it means your settlement is already a large city. You spend a lot of money for getting here. You built the councilor chambers, and you've built the awesome temple of Aphrodite. So I don't think in that point of the game 5% bonus on trade income will make you great difference. Maybe you'll get like 50 or 100 denarii more. I don't think even 100 denarii, but let's say 100 denarii more. You won't be, if you play properly, you won't be having any money problems in that point. If your settlement already grow up too much, 100 denarii is nothing for you. It's not as important as early in the game. And 10% decrease to cost to bribe, you're not getting bribed a lot. That's the first thing. And secondly, when you do get bribed, anyways, the amount the enemy or a rival faction pays for bribing doesn't come and get it in your treasury. So you don't benefit from having more cost for bribe or less cost for bribe. It's just, I think, one of the traits that doesn't matter too much. So overall, it has this one still has a 5% of chance, but overall I don't think so that will be great impact on your gameplay or in your campaign. But this one over here, mildly extravagant, is expensive tastes 1 of my most hated traits probably. Why? Because after one point, from different sources, can be from this temple, can be because of having more than like 50 or 100,000 denarii in your treasury, you'll start having those, and it grows so fast. It gets mildly extravagant with -1 management, and then in a few turns it grows to regular extravagant -2 management, and then wildly extravagant -3 management. And management is one of the traits to keep it high or increase it. It is difficult to increase it or even to keep it stable, and this kind of traits kind of hits you hard when you try to have a high management point governor. So fortunately we have only 5% of chance, exact same chance like the others, but overall it's not the trait that you want to see, because that will hurt you a bit. And another one over here likes a flutter. In the game files it goes under gambling 1, only 3% of chance, 5% penalty on all trade income and 10% decrease to cost to bribe. Sounds like the Gourmet of Life but with minus penalty. So even if you will get this, if you're super unlucky with 3% of chance you were able to get this trait, don't mind too much because you don't lose a lot. I mean, you lose pretty decent value in here with the extravagant trait, but not over here. So I wouldn't mind if I had it, but overall, yes, as you can see, it's a debuff basically. It's a negative bonus, and but how important it is. Before jumping to another temple, I want to talk about this trait over here again. This building also gets you another basically chance for getting this triggered this trait with 3% of chance this time. We say the second tier of Aphrodite building gets us 5% of chance for getting these, and 3% chance with the awesome temple, which is 4th tier. So if you've built the awesome temple of Aphrodite already, it means you have 5% and 3% separately to be able to get that trait. So your chances are, they're not adding up and being 8%. I think they still being like 5 separately and 3 separately, but you have slightly better chance than just having 5%, that is for sure. So that's all about the Aphrodite, and I think we will be jumping to Ankira. I think that's where, yep, that's where I built the Hercules basically temple. the Hercules temple is a temple of violence. That's how it goes in the game files. So we've already talked about two different violence temples in our previous temple guide videos. As you remember, in Brutii we've talked about the Temple of Mars. That was also violence temple. And we've talked about the Ares temple in Macedonian temple guide, which is also a temple of violence. And here we are, another violence temple, shrine to Hercules, or the generally Hercules branch. In the first tier, we have 5% public order bonus due to happiness. So, as you already see, this guy starts the game a step behind of the other two brothers of his, other two basically siblings of his, with 5% public order bonus due to happiness, and no other bonuses over here. But let's see how it will go on basically. But as a first tier, it's a step behind from the other two. Let's check the devotion over here. We have devotion to violence, +1 finance when trading live goods, -1 for homewares, exact same conditions, and 100% of chance is being applied to this devotion as well. You have to have a merchant which is sitting on a settlement and ending the turn, which you've already built a shrine to Hercules, or the shrines in above tier. In the second tier, we have public order bonus goes up to 10%, and additionally we're getting experience bonus to troops that trained in here. So experience bonus is itself is pretty huge bonus actually, because let's say you're recruiting a fresh unit. If you have experience point 1 already, it means they are slightly better basically units than the one that they don't have it, because experience affects to their melee and missile attack, their defenses, their armor and stuff. So overall a lot of stats is being increased by the having +1 experience on the troops here. So it is pretty good to have, and it is very valuable, I would say. And now let's talk about traits and followers. But before, I think I forgot to talk about the wrestler. This is not related to the Temple of Hercules actually, it is related to Shrine to Hercules. So we haven't talked about any followers that requires you to build a shrine to Hercules, but wrestler does. So you can have the wrestler follower with 12% of chance if you've already built the shrine to Hercules or tiers above already. You don't have to have the second tier. Even in the third tier you can have it with 12% of chance, but there's another additional condition. Your settlement, government building shouldn't be higher than Governor's Palace. So it means you can have Governor's Palace, Villa, or the house, and you have to have building you have to be building or the finishing a construction of the Hercules building, and then you'll get a wrestler here, which gets you +1 influence and +1 personal security. Another again influence, pretty useful, pretty important, and pretty solid bonus to have. Personal security is not that important, still bonus for you. It protects your family member from the assassination attempts, enemies assassination attempts, slightly better. But I don't think you are facing with a lot of assassination basically losses in your family tree, so I don't think that's very important, but this guy is pretty important. So now let's jump back to the second tier. I had to mention it before jumping here. So the Temple of Hercules. Let's start about traits. We will ignore the faction here. The first trait we'll be talking about is anger. Anger 1 actually. That's how it goes in the game files. With 10% of chance you can get -1 influence point. It kind of hurts. I mean, I wouldn't like to have this, but unfortunately you are not being able to choose which traits that you want to have. So with 10% of chance you might get this, and it is obviously and strongly a debuff. Minus influence is never good. And bloody over here in the game file, it goes as a bloodthirsty 1, again 10%, +1 command and +1 morale for all troops on the battlefield. I don't care about the command point over here, but the morale is pretty useful, and it is decent, and I would say above average. Is a very solid trait to have. So we have another one on the line is a lively, which is energetic 1 trait with 15% of chance you might get it, +1 management, 10% movement point, and 5% discount on construction costs. So management is pretty solid for your governor. Movement point doesn't match with your governor a lot because your governor usually doesn't move a lot in the map. It sits in its place. But discount on construction cost, that works for you because you building I'm always trying to build and improve my settlements, and you're getting 5% of discount. Yes, it is not a huge in some point, but at least it's useful. Even if you don't want to keep your let's say a general or family member in the settlement, this 10% movement point will work for you because you're gonna start basically going 10% further each turn, so that's better. And I have already, I think, mentioned with 15% of chance at the end of each turn your family member can get this lively trait. And let's talk about the follower here, Priest of Hercules, +2 command when attacking. Exact same conditions applies to Priest of Hercules as well, at least 2nd tier Hercules building, and 15% of chance at the end of each turn for your family member to be able to get it. But overall in the Pontus Priestess, I think the Hercules is the worst one. Why? Because it gets you +2 command, and it is not a +2 command like all the time, only when attacking. If you're defending, you don't get beneficial from it. So yes, you're gonna probably most of the time be attacking, but I mean overall the command is not a great buff to have. Even you are narrowing down the usage of it, so I don't think that is useful, and I don't think it's a good priest, to be honest. So that is it about the Hercules traits and followers. Now let's take a look to the third building, third tier building. 15% of bonus on the public order, 2 experience point here, which is good. I mean, 2 experience is already, even 1 was good, and you can get the 1 as early as in the 2nd tier, and you have 2 bonus experience bonus over here in the 3rd tier building, which is good, I would say. And the 4th tier we have 20% public order bonus and 3 experience point bonus, which is I would say solid in his own point of view. So let's summarize it. Overall, how is the Hercules line? I feel like Hercules line is not the line that you would like to go in most of your settlements. So if let's say in 1 or 2 days I said we're gonna resolve the election on the basically for the next campaign faction, if that will be the case for Pontus, what I would do most probably, I will be building a temple of Zeus, I would say 90% of my settlements. And I'm playing in a way that I don't recruit from all settlements. Let's say I've gone down, for example, I've captured like 5 or 10 settlements over here, or let's say I got over here and I've captured like all the Macedonian and Greek city settlements around here. Most of the settlements, like 80-90% of my settlements, I am building economical buildings. I don't build barracks, I don't build stables, I don't build like the archer ranges or stuff. And why? Because I don't feel like to have a lot of settlements for recruiting is necessary for me. What I do instead, I do keep my economy catched up because I grow aggressively. I basically recruit a lot of mercenaries, I recruit a lot of armies as much as possible. I try to grow aggressively, so I want my economy keep up with that. I don't want to have financial problems. So that's why what I do usually, I do, let's say, build a lot of economical buildings on those settlements, and I do assign one settlement in my head as my military center for that front, let's say, for that geography. Let's say in that case it's a Thessalonica over here, so I don't build economical buildings such as ports, roads, or I don't upgrade the farms or markets in Thessalonica. What I do instead, I do build barracks, stables, archer ranges. I do upgrade them as much as possible, and in those settlements, which usually being like one settlement out of 10, 15, in those settlements, building Hercules basically temple makes pretty much sense and pretty good sense. Why? Because I'm gonna be recruiting from that settlement, and I'm gonna be getting extra experience point on my units from that settlement. And also usually these kind of settlements, your military settlements, usually gonna have requests from you to have couple units of garrisons, at least 4 or 5 units of garrisons for maintaining the public order. And in the rest of my settlements, what I usually do, I capture and just leave 1 unit of peasant behind and then move forward. I don't like to leave some of my army as a garrison in those settlements. So peasants are cheap, you don't pay a lot, you pay only 100 denarii per turn. And building basically the Zeus temple, you will maintain the public order instead of having a lot of garrisons. So I save up money from there, and my settlements are not having public order issues. And also I can be comfortable and use my money for investing to my army in another point. I can invest my money for my ships, for my fleets, for the mercenaries and stuff. So that's how I do handle. So I would build the Zeus temple in all my settlements, which they are not my military centers, military basically military assigned settlements in my head. And on those settlements I would build a Hercules for being able to benefit from the public order a little bit, and especially from the experience bonus over here. But why Zeus, not Aphrodite? You can build Aphrodite as well, but I feel like Zeus bonuses overall, even its followers and this trait over here, especially this follower, is slightly better than the Aphrodite. And also Aphrodite, the love temple traits are kind of like 50-50. You do get some good ones like this and this over here, but you do get bad one like over here, and the others is not too bad, to be honest. But yeah, and more importantly, like it gets me the higher public order bonus. So yeah, I mean, I would go with higher public order bonus instead of little bit having a population growth. So that would be my way of handling temples with Pontus faction. Probably if we will be making a campaign from the Pontus, you will see that I'm applying that logic to them. So that's all, folks. I hope I could have been clear enough for you, and I could have covered enough details and enough important points about each temple of each Pontus temple basically. So I'm gonna wrap up, and so this week's temple guide for today. Probably next episode we'll be talking about Egyptian temples. That's what I'm assuming, and then right after the Egyptians we can jump to the barbarians and probably finish the temple guides with them. But it really depends. I might maybe start with barbarians, but probably Egyptians will be the next target for our for the temple guide series. And again, I'll do the announcement which I did at the beginning of the video as well. Please go to my channel, and on the channel under the post section you will see that there's a open post right now for we're trying to choose the faction for the next long campaign. Go ahead and vote for your favorite faction over there that you want to see in a campaign, and in 1 or 2 days I'm gonna wrap that up. I'm gonna get the faction with the most votes that will be chosen for our next basically long campaign video. So folks, I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please do like and subscribe. A lot of our viewers haven't subscribed yet. Whoever did, I do really appreciate you a lot, and keep your supports up. That means a lot for me. And I will be seeing you next week with another faction temple guide, and you all take care since then.